Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another We Connect in South Africa webinar. Today, we have the pleasure of working with AstraZeneca South Africa team. And today we're looking at resilience. I had to look up what resilience means because I think we all have a good understanding of what it means. And he said the capability to recover quickly from difficulties. And for all of us, COVID-19 has taken us by surprise and has stretched us and challenged us in ways that sometimes we didn't expect. And today we're going to be looking at how 3 women business owners plugged into their resilience and pushed forward and came out on top. For me, that resilience is that almost that deep breath you take that you just push forward. It's exhilarating, it's exhausting, but you know you're moving forward. And we have the AstraZeneca team who are going to talk us through some really amazing slides and information on how to adopt an agile mindset for your business, focusing on resilience. My name is Jean Chawapiwa. I'm the Country Director for We Connect International in South Africa. Today, we have several members of the We Connect team on the platform with us. I'm going to start with Patricia Langen, who's the Regional Director for Africa and Middle East. Welcome, Patricia. And then Yeshua Russell, who's the Country Director for Nigeria, is also on the call. I think they're both on video. And then we also have several other amazing support staff, starting with Vanessa, whose voice you'll hear throughout the webinar. Vanessa works with me in the South Africa team, and she has been the power and source behind making all of this happen. Besides Vanessa, we've also been working with Erin and Shaylin, who are interns in the We Connect Washington office. And we've also got Axel and Michael, who are interns and have been helping the South Africa team. So we have a global team that's from different parts of the world: Washington, Lagos, Abuja, Johannesburg, Cape Town. I can see Jenny there from Cape Town. Just an amazing team we've got together. So I'm just gonna cover a little bit on housekeeping. Please keep your mics on mute to reduce the noise in the background. We'd really appreciate that. And if you've got questions, please use the chat facility. We will stop through the presentations and ask some questions. So please do that. The agenda is basically that I'm going to hand over soon to Smita from AstraZeneca. She will introduce the team from AstraZeneca that are here with us. We've got 4 members of their leadership team joining us today. And then they'll go through a presentation on resilience. We will then break up into 6 breakaway rooms where you will work on short case studies of the 3 businesses that we talked about. They're real We Connect International WB case studies. You'll work on those. We've got half an hour to do that. And then when we come back together, we'll do the feedback. We've got a video from the women business owners whose case studies they are, telling you exactly how they use their resilience to pivot their businesses through this challenging time. So it's going to be an exciting afternoon. Please bring your energy to the sessions, be participative in the breakaway rooms, and we can make this fun. Now I'm going to introduce Smita Ramouthar from AstraZeneca. She's the HR director and has been heavily involved in helping us pull this webinar together. Thank you, Smita, for you and your team, and over to you.
Thank you, Jean, and hello, everyone. And thank you to WeConnect for allowing AstraZeneca to partner with you on this. Today, I'll introduce you to our 3 speakers. Firstly, I'm Smita, and I am the HR Director for the African cluster. And we have Barbara Nel, who's our country president, and Dr. Sylvia Vito, who's our PMO. All 3 of us look after the cluster across all countries, and we'll take you through today just a little bit about AstraZeneca and how we've managed during this pandemic and how we've managed the change with our employees. So we'll share a little bit about what we did, and we'll hear from you as well. So I'll hand over to Barbara, and she will take you through AstraZeneca's footprint.
Thanks very much, Smita. And I just want to once again also echo that, it is really exciting to be on platforms like this. All of us female leaders, with the unique challenges that brings as well. And especially, I think in the challenging times that we are currently facing. So we really value the opportunity to share with you a little bit today what we've also been through as a company. But I think first and foremost, just by way of introduction, so AstraZeneca, we are a pharmaceutical company, Anglo-Swedish pharmaceutical company, but we have had a footprint in Africa for more than 20 years. So we currently operate in 4 regions, so French-speaking Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Southern Africa, and then also specifically with a focus in South Africa. And our head office is really based here out of Johannesburg. And then Sylvia, who's part of the team, is I would say the other big regional office that we have is based in Nairobi in Kenya. The main areas that we work in is respiratory, so for conditions such as asthma, cardiovascular, renal, metabolic. Within that area, we look specifically medications for patients with diabetes, patients with high blood pressure, patients with certain kidney problems, and then oncology, obviously for certain cancer types such as breast cancer, lung cancer, ovarian cancer. Here in South Africa, we also have a clinical research and development that is happening. So we're actually running certain clinical trials as we look at developing a medicine. We have a whole team that is based here in South Africa, and we actually have a very big footprint in terms of clinical trials that we run here in South Africa as well. Something that's very close to my heart is also some of the programs that we run, what we would refer to as sustainability programs. So this is, for instance, where we are looking at non-communicable diseases. So non-communicable diseases is essentially a condition that you can't get it from somebody, like asthma. You can sit right next to somebody with asthma, but they can't pass asthma on to you. It's something else that's causing it. So we are working, for instance, at the moment here in South Africa on a big hypertension, a high blood pressure screening program with Minister William Kizi and his team. At the same time, in many of our other African countries, we have our Healthy Heart Africa program going that has, in a country like Kenya, been running for a number of years. And you can see there, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Ghana, where it is really about driving awareness for some of these conditions. And then Pakamisa, which is based, it's a program that we run here in South Africa, which is once again really helping cancer patients, especially in the public sector, how they need to navigate through, if they've now got a diagnosis, going back to the clinic, the support. So we have previous cancer survivors and cancer patients who would in a way help the patient to navigate through, where do they need to go? How do they book the appointment with the clinic? What needs to happen? So that's very much a little bit about us as AstraZeneca. If we move to the next slide. Yeah, so, this year has been a big test for all of us, I think, in the work environment and in our personal lives as well, in terms of agility. I mean, I think, it's like written in big font size, 72 in terms of if you need to describe this, one of the words that you'll pick to describe this year. And this is really just what we want to go take you through a little bit. And between myself, Smita, and Sylvia, we will take you through what has been our approach from an AstraZeneca perspective. So if we move to the next slide, 5 ways to lead through a crisis. And I think this is the key thing, very often it doesn't matter how big or how small the organization is, people look towards the leadership to see how they are behaving and what they are doing and how they are dealing, and I think we've all experienced it at the moment, even just us personally, where maybe the ups and downs are a little bit more like this, in the last couple of months, the ups and downs have definitely felt, for me, if I talk personally, have felt much, much bigger. So I think these are the things, you've got to be open. And, you know, like I always say to my team, I do not have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball to look into and predict, you know, where will we be in 6 months' time. But I think it's so important to just have that, you know, continuous open approach and to stand tall. Sorry, I've lost the slides.
Sorry, Barbara, there's something happening on my side, but you can carry on talking. I'm just about to share again.
Okay, then I think this whole thing about standing tall, I think, and with that also for me in a way comes the whole piece around being visible. I think it's so important that people need to feel that you also are visible, giving reasons to believe, you know, and very often I think also shaping that, you know, together with the team, praising people who are doing hard work. We sometimes maybe in the past, so for instance, at the moment, we're in a big, you know, long range planning process at the moment in the company. So very often you would almost just go through the process, and when you get to the end, you will say thank you to the teams. But I think now it's even more important that almost, you know, at every opportunity that we need to appreciate, you know, what people are doing. You know, and I think it's, you know, it is this piece around giving the reasons to believe, to also look beyond just the current situation, you know, the reasons to believe in the situation we're in, but also longer term. And then I think very important is walk the walk. You know, so here, for instance, is an example, you know, we are currently opening up our offices. But I think this is, for instance, where we as a leadership team, we need to be visible. People need to see how we are engaging. They need to see that we are, for instance, adapting more virtual working and working from the office and the advantages that that brings. And then I think it's this whole piece around also, you know, sort of the TLC. You know, people need to hear from you as well, that, you know, you also go through ups and downs, that the emotions that they are feeling, you are feeling it as well. And sometimes I would say, sometimes as the leader, you might even feel those feelings even more intensely, because, you know, there's also a huge responsibility that sits with us. You know, we need to have that responsibility for the organization that we are carrying. So I think these are just some of the things, you know, do we get these right on a daily basis? Absolutely not. But I think once again as well, I think it's the intention sometimes with when we engage with people and when we are, you know, giving the reasons to believe. You know, I think underlying all of this is trying to always be authentic. You know, authentic doesn't always mean that you are nice. This is what I always say to people, but it means that you are, you know, you are expressing what you really feel and what you really believe in. You know, and I think people, we can all relate to that, you know, even if it is a tougher conversation that we need to have with somebody. Okay, so if we move to the next slide. So in terms of how people react to change, you know, and once again, we've all seen this, and we're all different as well, in terms of just sometimes how quickly people can move through processes, and then for other people, it just takes longer. So almost from the stage of, you know, the information, the denial, almost, you know, if we think of ourselves, you know, when COVID started to develop in China, I think we were all a little bit, it's going to stay there, it's not going to be, and then, you know, before you know it, you know, it's kind of here on our shores. Then there's this piece around, you know, stage 2, which is around the support. Very often, you know, you also see, you know, after the denial, you know, this resistance where the confidence and the morale and the effectiveness of people can really drop. This exploration phase, where we then really start to give the direction, and then the encouragement and the acceptance. And I think it's this whole piece, it's very important to sense check with people, because very often as leaders, sometimes we can, you know, in some situations you need to be at the forefront, but that's not always the right place to be. Sometimes you need to almost keep yourself at the back so that you can see the speed with which the organization is moving through the change. You know, and for me, that's been something I've had to work on, because I am somebody that can make quite quick decisions and I can move on. But it's very easy that you actually leave the team behind you, so that you're thinking, right, okay, we've explored, we know exactly where we are, I've accepted the situation, and this is how I'm moving. And then somebody puts their hand up and they go, oh, hang on a bit here. That's maybe, you know, like 2 steps too far. So I think it's also to think through the different stages. You know, sometimes some people might need more time in that exploration phase, where they almost need to think through the different options and what is it that we can do in order to deal with this change. And you need to allow that. You need to allow this process to percolate through. At the same time, we can also not keep people in a position for always. So it's trying to find also your change champions, you know, the people that can maybe sort of say, okay, well, we look at life and we look at life a little bit more half, is the glass half empty or is it half full? And it's the, the half full people that often, would sometimes just move through things a little bit quicker. Okay, but it's not always the speed. It's more the fact that we need to allow people to go through, all these stages from a change perspective. And also to allow people to have their say, in terms of when they're not happy with something or when they still don't understand, so sometimes it's different people that maybe need to explain certain situations, okay? And then I think this whole thing around peer-to-peer influence can be so powerful. And, here as well, I've seen how both Smita and Sylvia has used this, we can come with a great idea, but how do you actually sit, and get the peers, so maybe the like I say, the change champions that can, when you are not there as the leader, that can still have the conversations with people and maybe brainstorm. And very often in those environments, people feel a little bit more open as well to say, but this is actually my concern. Schools aren't open yet in South Africa. How am I going to manage and juggle all these things with homeschooling and Zoom lessons and whatever the kids and the families are going through at the moment? And I think that's sometimes where it's so important. I've definitely seen in the last couple of weeks and months that, and I think in a way it's a good thing. People really now, it's much more of they have to bring their total self to work. In terms of, I've had many conversations with people about, personal circumstances and kids and family, etc., where you need to have much more of a, I think, almost like a holistic approach in terms of how we look at individuals that work for us in our organizations or companies. Okay, very good. If we move to the next slide. And I think I'm handing over to Smita with this.
Thanks, Barbara. And just to catch on to what Barbara was saying, it's really important, and we've seen this from experience, is that influencing and using the influence model in the team, regardless of how big or small the team is, really does work to sort of move people through the change curves. And we sort of look at it within 4 aspects. Role modeling, so, living the behaviors you want to see in the team, living the behaviors that you want to see delivered by your teams as well, and everything else that you're doing from a business and a personal aspect to role model the behavior that you want. And then, as Barbara said earlier, it's really important to understand your employees and allow them to come to you and allow them to speak to you and tell you their situation and help you understand from their side as well. And that just reinforces, the relationship between the two of you, and then it allows for more transparency. The other area that we continued to focus on, regardless of the change, is to develop our skills and our talents within the organization so people don't feel like they're losing touch of everything. So we continue to focus on development, and inherently, while you're going through this change, you start developing yourself and your skills anyway. So we just focused on it a little bit more to allow everything else and to allow for them to go through the change with skills that they are equipped with. And then the final sort of area that we focused on is just the formal mechanism. So whatever discussions, whatever communications that we had, whatever, like Barbara said, if you're having a discussion with around like behaviors or change or situations, etc., make it formal so that people understand that it wasn't just a discussion, or it wasn't just a by the way situation, that you're taking it seriously. And I think as leaders, when we were going through the change, and when we are going through different changes now, the really important thing that we did was just be real. So we were very realistic. We gave people enough time to sort of accept change, but also at the same point, when people were still not accepting it, we sort of had to go in and have those discussions with them to see what was holding them back and how can we facilitate that mindset shift so that they can accept the change and become more resilient to situations like this in future. And then we looked at conflict, so be it internal formal procedures and expectations of the workload, etc. It's important as leaders for us to go and resolve that, because if there's any conflict between what we expect of our employees, or what our policies or procedures say and what's actually being done, employees end up being confused and then a little bit more resistant to change, and then their resilience is sort of impacted. So to become more resilient, we need to also help them and facilitate that. And by addressing conflicts that are in the business or in the current situation, it will help your employees a lot more. And then we also had a huge focus on rewards and recognition. And this doesn't mean physical rewards. It's to ensure that every person is acknowledged for whatever they are contributing. And you can do it in various ways. We've had, like, just meetings where we just put their names up and acknowledge what they were doing for that week. So it doesn't, sorry, it doesn't have to be formal, recognition, but as long as you acknowledge what people are doing and the efforts that they are putting in to adapt to the change. And the other important aspect that we took into consideration and we spent a lot of focus on is just being fair and consistent. It's very easy to focus on individuals that are changing with you or are working on the same sort of curve as you with the change, and you sort of end up giving them a little bit more attention because you're working together. But it's also important for us to recognize that not everyone's on the same pathway as us, not everyone's at the same level as us. So to make sure you're just fair and consistent in the way you challenge the teams, how you manage the teams, and also then how they are accountable for the changes in whatever they need to do and deliver. So we use the influence model, and we continue to use it with all the changes that we go through within the organization. But most importantly, during this COVID changes, especially sort of, moving through the levels in lockdown, etc., how to manage that change with our workforce. It's something that we really used a lot in this last couple of months. And that leads right to resilience, and like, how do you maintain high performance? How do you have this positive mindset within your teams, within yourself as well, and how you are able to sustain that performance? So whenever we go through change, we make sure that we take all of this into consideration. So it just ensures that the employees are built stronger, or their mindset is agile, so that they are willing to be flexible and adjust whenever we have a situation that allows us to manage this change. So it's really, really important that we instill the confidence in our employees and ensure that they understand their purpose within the organization, so that they can be adaptable and they can be resilient in the future. So, sometimes we invest now in our employees. It doesn't mean that it will always return right now in the situation that we're in, but it does add on, and you'll see it develop as your business changes and as your needs as an organization changes, that your employees can move with you. And the last sort of very important bit that we had was the social support. So it's really important to understand, the family situation, the home situation, the health situation. So from that point of view, we also offered a lot of opportunities for employees, be it with external parties or just with us during meetings or with their managers, etc., to have that social side of things. It's not always business. And we've also created quite a lot of channels where employees can share what's happening in their home, be it with the kids' art and their exercise routines, etc., because then it allows you to see into their lives and understand them a little bit more. So this is kind of like the approach we took to build the resilience within our teams, and we continue to learn and build on this. But this is sort of the areas that we found that really, really works for AstraZeneca. And then this is just sort of, we just put some tips from just Barbara's and my conversation in terms of, how to build resilience. I think the most important is to understand yourself and focus on yourself, because if, you as a leader don't understand what you can do and how you can manage the change in your teams, it's going to be very difficult to lead teams through change and be resilient. And always to be positive and sort of take emotions as they are, and sort of take time to understand them and acknowledge them, and always focus on the positive. and always have sort of an understanding of your personal moral compass and as well as your team. So, you know, if you don't have an understanding of what your values are and how, if they are challenged during a change situation, you know, how do you stay true to them? It then doesn't make you sort of very what's the word? So it doesn't make you lead your team honestly, you know, and they see through that if your morals and values don't align to what you're asking from them. And then the flexibility, you know, the ability to recognize when something is challenging or unhelpful, and how to help your employees lessen that anxiety and the stress, and also for ourselves. If we're not aware of what triggers us, you know, then we show that anxiety when we're leading teams. And if we can't do that, do we find somebody that we can use as a role model or a buddy to help us bounce off ideas and sort of talk about it and talk through what we're going through and what we want to do with our team, so that they can give us some advice and you know, they can guide us as well. And then, you know, investing in our own social support networks. It's also important as a business leader that you have supports, especially when you're going through the change. And it could be anyone from your family to friends to, you know, religious networks, etc. But it's really important that you look after yourself and your well-being first, so that you can lead teams through change. And then I will hand over to Sylvia, who will take us through the circle of control.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you, Barbara. And it's a pleasure to meet you all. True story, what has happened in AstraZeneca this year is that part of our beginning of the year, our leader, who is Barbara, takes us through a common theme that is going to bind us together and that's going to help us navigate through our commercial deliverables as an organization. Funny enough that the biggest theme that we were focusing on this year was around the power of the mind, the fact that no human is limited. And I think all of us have heard about Kipchoge, who broke the human record, you know, and the 2-hour marathon. Of course, we are very well versed with the win that the South Africa rugby team made globally. We are aware about Miss Universe from South Africa. And this rallying call that we had this year was around deploying the power of the mind, knowing that our limitations start from the mind. And as long as you're not limited in your mind, you can achieve anything. Yeah. We also know that it's commonly said that mind over matter in a lot of circumstances, and whatever you will in your mind, there's a very high chance you can achieve. So what we did this year under the leadership of Barbara is that we were trying to rally the team around being able to be in control of our attitude and the things that are within our realm of influence, yeah? And one of the 2 analogies that I'm going to share that we have deployed with the team and that we continue to use and that has helped us to really pivot this COVID season has been, number 1, this circle of control. If you look at our lives as 2 concentric circles, we've got the outer circle, which is the circle of concern, if I may use that. And what you can see in front of your screen, the circle of concern are those things that we can't control as individuals. That is what people say, what other people do, what COVID comes with, what it does to our businesses, what it does to our opportunities, you know, those external situations. However, because they're not within our control, we also have and have been blessed with an inner circle, which is our circle of influence, yeah? This circle of influence consists of the things that are within our control. That could be our attitude, our words, our self-care, our actions, choosing to show up, choosing to forgive others, just trying to choose whether I'm going to see the glass as half full or half empty. So I want us to focus on that analogy because that is what we've been able to use as an organization to actually rally the team to navigate this COVID situation and the changes that Barbara and Smita have very well iterated in terms of our focus on resilience and influencing one another. So look at those 2 circles and remember, it really encompasses where your mind is going to be, and where your mind is more often than not determines your attitude. And you know that your attitude or our attitude as individuals determines how far we go. In other words, our attitude will eventually determine our altitude, so to speak. So all that comes from this particular simple illustration of the circle of concern. You leave the things that you cannot control. They will continue happening, and it will not be easy, but you can only focus on things that you can show up for. and how you show up. So let's go to the next slide, and I show just a second example. Beyond the circle of control, there's something else we can look at. And this year, we also looked at what we called the simple line. So if you're going to look at our lives and circumstances from a simple perspective of a simple black line, yeah? Above that line are certain things that we choose to do, and below this black line are certain things that we choose to do, right? Now, below this black line are the things that are going to threaten us as individuals, threaten our businesses, threaten our families, but how we choose to respond to those threats would be the fear that we find ourselves that is below this simple black line, the concerns that we'll continue having, the dark side that we'll focus on. Let's say if it's loss of a job, we start focusing on the fact that I have no income, we'll have no food, we'll not have access to our basic amenities. We could also focus on the fact that in some of our businesses and circumstances, your ego could be trashed. So this below the simple black line, which we call below the line analogy, is the area where an individual tends to be closed by nature. We tend to be defensive. We tend to be very fearful. We focus on probably things like just gossiping about what's going wrong. We tend to choose to be overwhelmed, because at times you can really be overwhelmed, but you can choose sometimes just to focus on how terrible the circumstance is. So that's what we call below the line. And it also speaks to being an individual that focuses on the things that you cannot control. So if you stay on the outer circle, on the things that you can't control, and you get stuck there, your behavior tends to be below the line. So you tend to exhibit non-collaborative behavior, non-survival attitude, and just basically a very negative outlook towards a lot of things. Above this simple line is what we call the above the line kind of attitude, yeah? Same circumstance, COVID is happening to all of us. We are all struggling. We've all been impacted, though differently, but we are all literally struggling, yeah? So when you look at those who are above the line in terms of attitude, yeah, you seek to look for solutions, you seek to learn, you seek to create room for others, okay? You seek to understand, you seek to empathize, you seek to be compassionate, you look for opportunities, you look at life for the silver lining, the circumstances present itself. You're more of a freedom-based kind of person, and you look for thriving, not surviving. People below the line tend to look at, I just need to survive. But above the line, it's beyond surviving, you're looking at thriving. So if I look at those two analogies, this particular year under our leadership, as I say, the African mindset that we chose to adopt, and we didn't even know COVID was coming, by the way. As Barbara said, we thought it's something that's just going to pass. You know, it was happening in China. Then shortly in March, it's with us. But we had this conference in January, and our focus was, what can we as an African community of employees in AstraZeneca do to drive this African mindset that is above the line? We were determined that whatever it is that we face in Africa, we're going to choose to thrive. Whatever it is that we face in Africa, we're going to choose to learn. Whatever it is that happens to us as an African cluster, we're going to seek opportunities and maximize them. So I think that really led us really well to be a bit more better prepared as an organization when COVID finally hit us. And being a pharmaceutical organization in healthcare, it meant that there were a lot of limitations that COVID brought with itself. But we saw a very good turnaround strategy by the leadership, so to speak, where the management team was able to bring in this whole total buy-in, carry the whole team together in the future around pivoting the digital. And pivoting the digital, I'll give an example. Our day-to-day engagements involve talking to doctors, nurses, pharmacists, healthcare providers, government officials, policy makers, and these have been a lot of face-to-face engagements. And suddenly, everyone is under quarantine, everyone is at home, but work needs to continue, because one of the things we were very, very clear, and I remember Barbara making it very clear, there are things that we can choose to influence, and our success is one of the things that we need to be very determined about. So in our above the line kind of attitude, we then looked for means and ways in which we're going to continue to add value to nurses, pharmacists, doctors, healthcare workers, societies that we have been partnering together with, but digitally, because just because we are at home and that there's a total lockdown did not mean that all was lost. So it was a matter of maximizing the circumstance and pivoting to probably a digital platform. And that meant we all had to learn new skills. within a certain critical period of time, we had to carry along the team. And I remember Barbara very well emphasizing on a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication, staying visible to what she was outlining earlier. And that is typically what would constitute the middle pack, which we're talking about, defining our unique success formula. And when you do that as a leader, you can't do it by yourself, because as a leader, it doesn't mean that you're the one with all the ideas. What we saw in AstraZeneca is that we formed a lot of focus groups. Barbara was able to cascade through the cluster, whether it is teams in French-speaking Africa, in East Africa, West Africa, South Africa specifically, where we formed cluster groups just to think about what will the new normal look like? How will it impact us as an organization? And if we're going to go to digital engagement, how will it feel? How easy will it be for our medical reps, for our medical advisors, for those guys who are maybe middle-level managers, okay? So there was a whole lot of a conversation. And for me, what it meant is that as a leader, as you try to redefine the new way forward, carry your people along with you. Because as Barbara said, you can't sit there being overwhelmed and thinking that all the decisions have to come from you or all the ideas. There's a lot of great pockets of ideas that sits with your team. As long as you give them the great energy, the great focus on being above the line, there will always be solutions amongst all members of our communities. Then, of course, from time to time, to the third pillar is we've managed to go back and revisit and continue anchoring ourselves in our unique formula, in understanding that we've got a basic guideline, we've got a true north that we are following. That true north continues to guide us, and that means we are determined to add value to the lives of our patients in Africa. We're determined to pivot this digital and the circumstance that we find ourselves in, but at the end of the day, our success will be determined by what we feed our minds with. So I must admit that this African mindset, which was the above the line mindset, has taken us through some very tough times. It's not easy just to wake up and start engaging with your customers virtually, because they also have many other concerns. It's not easy for most of us to have worked at home, and people had different challenges, but the above the line kind of attitude went a long way. So I can only say at times, the creator and the universe always gives our leaders a lot of wisdom, and how we adopted above the line as a tagline for 2020 could not have come at a better time. So I think from this particular slide, that's what I just wanted to share, a perspective of what the power of the mind really means to us as an individual, and to show you that we have actually deployed it at a very real level. So I hope it adds a lot more perspective that it's doable. Choose mind over matter, and what you believe you can achieve. We always have to stay above the line. There'll be hard times when you'll feel like you're struggling, you're losing, and it happens to all of us when you're fearful, when you're concerned. But how you react to your fears, because your fears are real and your emotions are real, but how you react to your emotions is usually a choice that you have to make very deliberately and very consciously. So for me, I just thought, I hope that perspective also adds a lot of value in this conversation with you as a team. Thank you. Back to you, Smita. Barbara?
Thanks very much for that, Sylvia. Yeah, and to be frank with everybody, you know, we started this whole focus on the unique formula because at the back end of 2019, the organization went through a huge restructure where we used to have South Africa and Sub-Sahara Africa as separate entities, and we then put the two together. So this whole drive around the above the line was actually almost more to pull the organization out of the negativity that normally is there when you have taken through an organization through a fairly big restructure. But then once again, it actually happened at the right time, exactly what Sylvia said, because, you know, little did we know in December, January, you know, the challenges. But I think the key thing here is, you know, you can go and cook up something as a leader and sit and say, oh, we're going to, you know, kick off this beautiful program. But you need to really let everybody in the organization touch and feel it. And these are just some pictures from our sales conference at the beginning of the year, where we got everybody together. So people who are office-based, the sales teams, etc. And you can see here just some of the fun pictures. You know, we asked them to actually sit and formulate, and then they had to act out or, you know, do different things in terms of, you know, what they saw as the above the line, but also the below the line behaviors. And through that, I think it really sort of created this sense of unity. You know, this, as we've defined it, the African cluster, you know, our African mindset. And I think once again, the other piece as well is the inclusive leadership. You know, I know, as I said earlier, I definitely had to learn, and I'm still working on it actually on a daily basis, in terms of sometimes just slowing down and really making sure that you take the team with you in the process. And I think here we really spent time initially with the senior leaders, then with the middle management, and then with the, the sales teams and the rest of the organization to make sure that we allowed everybody to go through this process and to really, kind of come on board. So going back to that change management piece, even just by implementing something like this, we had that focus. And yes, the above the line was really something that we could really hang on to. And very often in our meetings, we would refer to it to say, but you know what, guys, where are we? And I actually did that with my senior leadership team at one stage where I said, we actually just need to go back and ask ourselves the question, has it fundamentally changed? Have the things that we defined in December and January before COVID, have the above the line factors changed? Have the below the line factors changed? And we looked at that and we reviewed it and we actually said, no, it is still, it's the same things. It's the same formula in a way that still applies. We maybe need to be a little bit more conscious of people's personal circumstances. So maybe somebody with no comorbidities that live by themselves, that is very different at the moment from a single mum with 2 kids where both of them are being homeschooled and maybe they've got diabetes where they might have some health considerations. Where previously those 2 would be a little bit more on a level playing field. Now, because of COVID, it is different. So it's that awareness that we had to create. But I think for me, that was actually great that out of that whole thing, the DNA in a way that we formulated. So defining our unique African formula really sort of held true. Okay. If we move to the next slide, so in a way, what is needed in terms of successful change management? And I think, through what Sylvia and what Smita has also shared, active and visible executive sponsorship. You can't just, you need to be in the kitchen. You need to roll up your sleeves and you need to get stuck in. People need to see that you are living this. It's not just a strap line or a 2-hour, workshop that we do, at a conference or something, but we're actually living this. I think very important is dedicated change resources, not necessarily always money. Very often it's more the people. It's the people that can really drive this and making sure that you spend, the right amount of time. Having a structured change management framework is what Smita also talked through. Constant and open communication. When we first went into lockdown, we instituted what we called like a virtual pace setters call. So how are we setting the pace, for our cluster? And we spoke on a weekly basis, and the content of those calls changed over time. So in the beginning, it was a little bit more like, oh my goodness, how are we all surviving at home, to where it is now. And then that also gives you these platforms for continuous, but at the right level, appreciation that you can show for people that are really putting in stellar performances. And that also links to the employee engagement. I also went through phases where I said, okay, I used to travel a lot. So I would wait and then we'll travel to Nairobi. And when we are there, we will sit down and we'll do a town hall with the employees. Now I said, okay, well, we're not traveling. So every month we probably have a week where we're now scheduling, like I would call them virtual town halls, but with the small teams. So we have these big events where you'll have 220 people on the call, but let's be honest, people are not going to ask, maybe the question around, how is AstraZeneca going to support me, with my kids still being at home, or, I've got concerns around my comorbidities, or, how is AstraZeneca going to address XYZ? But when you have them in smaller groups, like if it's just the team in Ethiopia, for us, that's 12 people, then maybe they will open up a little bit more. So we are spending a lot of time to create also that employee engagement. And I think the main thing there is that you as the leader need to be there and you need to be present, not just I'm listening in, but people need to see that you really engage with them, and I think that's done a lot in terms of, how we've broken up, for instance, with the different sales teams. So there would literally be a week where it would almost be 8 to 9 hours that you would spend in these engagement calls. Once again, integration with product resources is important, and then business management. And then what you really get is the business results and the project success. I think the fact as well, like if there is a very open communication where people really can come with the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's also reduced resistance, because sometimes you almost address issues before they become, or it's more of a positive discussion to say, okay, guys, but what are our options? Let's not sit in the resistance phase for too long. Benefit realization, and then also, I think, quite a smooth and an early change adoption, so that people don't wallow in one. As I always say, you need to keep the energy moving forward, because as soon as it slows down, then the energy starts going sideways, and then, you know, that's where you really don't want the organization to be, because that's when the gossiping and the stories and the, oh, have you heard this and have you heard that, and can you believe that they're doing this and they're not doing that, that starts. And I think if you can channel that energy in a positive way, then I think it really helps to drive. And I think also, you know, I don't think we yet really realize it, but just building change capability. I think if there's one thing that COVID has taught us all, and I know maybe in the early days, we really all felt like we've been being pulled through a hedge backwards, you know, but I think how we've adapted, you know, and I don't think we always stop and kind of give ourselves enough credit for things like that. But that's essentially, you know, successful change management. It doesn't always go as smoothly as this. And, you know, sometimes you think that the organization is here, but actually they're not. You know, and then actually you realize, well, you know, maybe we need to maybe go back a few steps and just make sure that everybody is aligned. And it's a simple question, you know, at the moment I'm doing these smaller virtual coffee catch-ups, you know, like literally just 5 or 6 people. And it's a simple question. It's just a question to say, how are you guys doing? And even yesterday in my organization, you know, there was somebody that I have been working with in the office for the last 2 months that actually, when I said, so how are you doing, came with a story to say, well, they've been without power for the last 2 months. This person has managed to get themselves to work every day, you know, so they've lived through this cold winter here in South Africa, you know, with no power, you know, and once again, even that for me was, you know, I kind of stopped and I thought, you know what, we really need to take the time out to check in on people, because you just see them at work and they're there and they're doing their job, and they are probably have to pedal so hard to get to that level because of the situation that they now have at the home. And I think that also speaks to this piece around, in the end of the day, we myself, Sylvia and Smita, we all work together, or we know one another because we have one common goal within the company. So it is still about performance. But I think now more than ever, I think it's really the human side. People need to see your human side. They also need to see that, you know, the calmness, I think, under pressure, but they need to see the human side. And that we need to show that as well, you know, within the organization for individuals. Yeah. So if we move to the next slide. Oh, we're actually now going into the breakout room. I don't know, Sylvia, or I don't know, maybe we should just pause here and just ask if there are any questions or any comments, or Sylvia, if you or Smita have any other comments, or, you know, Jean, however you guys want to sort of do a little bit the breakout, or, you know, just the conversation now.
Thanks. There have been a few comments that have been put into the box. A lot of them are just saying thank you so much and people agreeing. I'm a little concerned that if we don't go into the breakout room, some people may have time limitations.
Okay.
But that was really amazing. Thank you so much, Barbara, Sylvia, and Smita. I love that. Our success will be determined by what we feed our minds. Is so true. Thank you so much. The question I had was around how do we deal with a team where people are in different levels of acceptance, denial, because we all know that, you know, you may be in acceptance today, but something happens tomorrow and you're in denial, and then you get pulled backwards again. So how are you dealing with making sure that people keep looking forward? And while you're just pausing on that, if I can just say, we've got a great turnout of the people expected. We are in the next 2-3 minutes going to put people into a breakout room. In the breakout room, you're going to have a moderator that's been already appointed to be the moderator. We've got 6 breakout rooms. The moderator will identify themselves. We do have slides if I can just share the screen a second. I'm coming back to let you answer that question, Barbara. The moderators that we've got are, if if I can just quickly share them, and they're all on the call. Helen, Helen, I know you're there, right?
Yes, I am, Jane.
Yeah, great. So Helen will be leading group 1. Helen's one of our WBEs from Nigeria. Thank you, Helen. We've got Shahima, I know has joined, Shahima Adams from the South Africa WBEs. We've also got Kobati, who I've seen also from the South Africa WBEs. Kobati, you're still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. We've got Mancha, who's a new WBE in South Africa. Mancha, I know you're there.
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Jean.
Awesome. Group 4. Then we've got Fayo from Nigeria, who will lead group 5. Fayo.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Great, Fayo. And then we've got Charlotte Naidu. Also.
Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Excellent. So when you are pulled into the breakaway rooms, you'll have one of those amazing people. You'll also have either an AstraZeneca person or one of the We Connect people, either Yeshua or Patricia, who will also be assisting. The moderators have the case study that you're going to be looking at, and they have the instructions. And we had set 30 minutes for the session. We want to try and keep to the 30 minutes. We're running a bit rather behind. So Barbara, I just wanted to give you a second to answer that question, and then Vanessa will press the button. People will go into the breakaway rooms. And if we can please then say, can I say we'll be back by 5 to 5? Does that make sense? 5 to 5. We'll come back.
Yeah, so Jean, yeah, so maybe just to answer. So once again, I think it speaks to that model, this influencing model that Smita also referred to. I think people will always be at different stages. I think it is about really, being cognizant of where the team is, spotting your people that are maybe a little bit ahead of the rest, how you utilize them as your change champions. I think in terms of the up and down everyday changes, I think that's just normal. I think, but it's still kind of the longer term picture. I also think if you create a goal, like if the team really owns the goal, and now I'm not just talking about business goals, I'm also talking about goals around how we're going to, look out for one another, how we are going to operate, what is it that we need to be aware of? And you have kind of quite clear rules, but, ways of working around that. I think these are all the things that help. I think on finding maybe sometimes pairing people up as well. If you know that there's somebody that's still very much in denial and somebody else that's already further along the change management continuum, how do you pair them up so that they can in a way bounce ideas off one another? So I think those are some of the things. And I think then we also just need to be honest that you're going to get days we're going to go, okay, that was just a bad one. Okay, so we'll start again tomorrow and we'll pick it up from there. But I think that just speaks to, sometimes my dad always used to say to me, the difference sometimes between a crisis and a solution is sometimes a good night's sleep. And sometimes you just need to say, that's the end of the day. It wasn't a great one. We'll try again tomorrow. And, and I think that speaks to that resilience. Like it's not always going to work out perfectly. But I think taking the team on the process, it is really how you pull the people together and the communication that you need to continuously drive. And also recognize that people also go through up and down fluctuations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Barbara. Thank you. We can hear from your team that your leadership skills are very impressive and very strong. And we look forward to further engagement with you. So Vanessa's going to start pressing the button for people to go into their breakaway rooms. The moderators have the case study that they'll share with the people in the room, and we'll be able to jump around and help you. So I think your screen will actually ask you to join the room that you're being invited to join. So you've just got to follow the technology. Thank you. And then if people have questions that we can address when we come back, please put them in the chat and we can make sure we address those. Vanessa, are we almost ready to move, everyone?
Yes, we are. So I'm going to start with the breakaway rooms. just now. You will be taken to your a different window, so please just accept. Don't worry, the webinar is not over. Thank you.
Great.
So we're going to start with Jazz's groups, and this was led by Mancha and Fayo. Thereafter, we're going to go into SS case studies, which was led by Charlotte and Helen. And thereafter, we're going to start with Tennies, which was led by Shahima and Khobati. So as soon as you're ready, Fayo, you can take us through your 10-point plan. And yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'll start
Thank
timing.
you.
So we said
All
3
right.
minutes. I'll start. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We were in group 5, and these are the 10 points we came up with. Point number 1, assessment of the 2 businesses. We felt she would look at her recruitment and then the virtual mindfulness business. What has changed in each of them? What has not changed? What direction should she be able to go into? Number 2, we felt she should define success and note down what would be the metrics, the KPIs of success. What would it look like in 1 month, in 3 months, in 6 months down the line? Point number 3, we felt she should engage her senior management people. She should exhibit her leadership skills to try and see how they can take on workers in both businesses and not really have to follow or let some off. And she should find out what ways should they be able to work, to engage, what skills do they have, what tools do they need. She should speak to them and know how that would pan out. Number 4 was for her to take a decision to pursue the virtual mindfulness and leadership business, because that was already virtual and she could very well fly with that. Number 5, reposition her products to specially deal with remote working and mental health issues. Point number 6 was to go into her database of existing customers for the recruitment agency and find out if she can offer this new service to them. Point number 7, aggressively pursue marketing, visibility of the business. Point number 8, look for other market opportunities. During the pandemic, she had to have her ears open. Point number 9 was to diversify into the area of mental health. And number 10 was to bridge the cash flow challenge she had by having a working relationship with other external resources and find a way to bring in some more cash into the business. Thank you.
That's amazing. That was 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Well done. Well done.
Thanks to all my team members. They made this happen. Thanks, Stella and Mashaka.
Thank you, Fayo. Just to give some context, I'm just going to read Jazz's case study for those of you who were not in the group, so you can just understand the 10-point plan. So the case study goes as follows. Jazz is the CEO and the certified women-owned business, CEO of the Certified Business Professionals, a recruitment and consulting firm in Rivonia, South Africa. She also founded Jazz Optimism, a virtual mindfulness and leadership coaching center. When the lockdown began in South Africa, a significant portion of economic activity came to a standstill for 2 months. With fewer jobs available, companies also had fewer resources to allocate them towards consulting and recruitment services. During this time, the Zenzele team worked to transition to a virtual environment. The lockdown had not been anticipated, but the company had already been focusing on diversifying their portfolio. In the past, Zenzele had difficulties retaining clients who are undergoing hardship, and the company typically had to manage the cash flow tightly in order to ensure that they are able to pay contractors. So Mancha, I think you also had this case study. Can you please go through your 10-point plan? Thanks. Hi, everyone. A special mention to our client, Jez. I can see her there. So our 10-point plan was around 3 themes. The first one is that Zenzele should expand their HR offering beyond recruitment, and I'll speak more to that. The second one is that increase or strengthen the capacity of the actual organization, their leadership, the team, including their contractors as well. And lastly, Zenzele should
focus also on retaining clients and also on expanding their client base. So on expanding their offering beyond recruitment, business development, leadership, and mental health are going to become, or they already are, a priority now during COVID and post-COVID. So already they have skills to provide solutions around those. So find a way to package their solutions so that they talk to those issues that are foremost in a lot of business leaders' minds. Carefully evaluate the market that she is in. Yes, companies are downsizing, but there is a need for very specific skills around working from home, virtual delivery, and technology. So in a way, expand her database so that it speaks to the needs of business as mentioned. Since she's already in HR, she can then offer things like human capital development, especially for clients that she has already placed, and also some have an offering around compliance, whether it's tax, UIF, etc. So the other thing, since there's just optimism already, there's an opportunity to then provide those mindfulness services to her team. So, and also there's another opportunity where she can have other people who will become mindfulness coaches themselves, especially if business is down now and she has people that are in the office, they can get certified to be mindfulness coaches. She can also get accreditation, and in companies now, she can offer a solution where people are getting trained to be mindfulness coaches. Then there's also another opportunity where the government, different governments have relief programs and they are scattered all over. So all you can package them and offer them as a solution. It may even be a free solution to your client, and this will go towards your business development and just retaining clients. And lastly, on retaining clients, leverage your existing relationships to get additional business from those clients and diversify clients. Here we said any client in as many sectors as possible. And if there's an opportunity to just review your rates, that's also an opportunity to strengthen the relationships that you have, especially with struggling clients. Thank you.
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
2 minutes and 50 seconds.
My 20-year business came to a standstill in March. No clients to call, no clients to visit, no services to render. Retrenchments were the order of the day, loss of income, reduced hours for employees, executives cutting down percentages of their salaries, no bonus to be paid by big companies. Virtual meetings were the order of the day. No human face-to-face interaction, abrupt cancellation of contracts. That affected my own business. I woke up one morning to change my customer segment, channel my business revenue, relook at my pricing model, find out more resources, more partnerships, and which acquisitions I could do to be able to survive the pandemic. Regular logistics, jazz optimism came to play right at a time where I thought business was shut down. I had to teach myself and practice a lot of resilience, a lot of flexibility, agility, technology, which is the order of the day, fast track my knowledge of how do I do business in a world where there's no human interaction. Boldness had to just kick in, bravery kick in for me to be able to survive. Regular logistics strategy, which is now a certified women-owned business with WeConnect. We spoke to our clients. We wanted to find out what solutions they needed during the period of COVID. Regular Logistics is a company which is in logistics. We supply PPE, which we actually used to supply even before the pandemic, because the company was started last year, where we supplied companies in aviation, in hospitality, in the pharmaceutical, and in the medical space. The buzzword was PPE to assist the country's health system in order to protect employees in the workplace and to save as many lives as possible. At Klekiwe, we deliver PPE right on time, quality, speed, and honestly to get to those people that we can save who are struggling to breathe in ICUs. And we've managed to do a brilliant job because our clients were very happy with the way that we delivered quality and speed. My fellow Weebies, the message to you today, in order to pivot and really think out of the box, is to be brave, be bold, be powerful in your strategy, be brilliant at what you do, show up when your client needs you, rise up to the occasion, stay beautiful, and just go out there and do business. There are lots of opportunities in the new emerging market. A lot of people at the moment are stressed, they've got anxiety, they've lost jobs, there's disruptions in families, kids are doing homeschooling, there's no proper family support in other households, and this is the time for us to go out there and spot those opportunities. Hence my other business, jazzoptimism.com, is a coaching, mindfulness, positivity thinking business to go out there and reach out to all those women business owners and corporates and our clients who themselves were giving us business but now are sitting on the other side looking for jobs. We have to go out there and help those people. So I encourage everybody, do not despair. There is still a new emerging economy. The markets will turn around, but the trick is when the markets turn around, you need to be ready to engage clients. We need to be ready to sign agreements, partnerships, supplier development forums, enterprise development initiatives. Let us do it. We can do it because SMMEs, women-owned businesses, are the future to build the economy of this country. My name is Jazz Banjwa. I'm the owner of Tekiwe Logistics, Jazz Optimism, and Zenzele People Professionals. I'm a serial entrepreneur. It has worked for me. Thank you very much. Be brave and happy Women's Month.
Thank you, Mancha. Thank you for your 10-point plan from your group. Next, we're going to be moving on to Charlotte. She was given Vanessa Bayer's case study, and I'm just going to read it out on what they had to come up with. So Vanessa Bayers is the MD of a certified woman-owned business, the Source PR Event Management in South Africa. The Source specializes in event management and exhibition. When COVID hit, event planning and tourism were severely impacted. Suddenly, Vanessa's clients had to cancel their events, including conferences, and were facing their own business and personal challenges. Vanessa sat her down to assess the financial situation, and they determined that the business is able to cover overhead costs for the next 2 months. However, with fewer clients booking in-person events, Vanessa and her company have to consider the changes to their business model and services. So Charlotte, whenever you're ready, you can, oh, there she is. Charlotte is joining. Helen, would you like to take first lead before we let Charlotte present?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Michelle will be speaking on our behalf. I'll come back later. Michelle? Please could you unmute Michelle?
Going to share. I want to start off with, I'm hoping everybody can, not yet, you can't see. Okay, everybody can see, right?
Yes, yes we can.
Okay, quick concept about me and my business. So this is important to feedback our 10 points. Peggy is me. I am the owner of a business and Peggy is my business. So Peggy is not me. So assume that this is Peggy and she sits on her own. She lives on her own. And I, the owner, I'm not the same thing. So I think where Peggy knows, I'd like to do this, Peggy requires, and my people can offer, whereas the customer and the marketplace needs something. So just keep those two things in mind while I'm going to talk you all through this. So we started off by saying, let's use this model. And the first thing in such an instance is to have the mindset that there is a way. Things are different now, so do I pivot or what else? So now you start rolling out the different things. First, what is necessary to secure the now? So what do we need to do to make sure that cash is there, that the staff feels okay, etc. So in that, it is good to react versus respond. So react, get the drama over, and then start responding. And you respond all the time. There's a now, there's a soon, and a later. And in doing so, always speak with your team. And coming back then to the point of Peggy, this is Peggy, it is not me. Ask yourself, what does Peggy need? In role modeling, agility is important. Speak to peers and networks to assess how others are doing. And there has been crises before. Check what happened then, how did people respond to those? In developing talent and skills, we probably need to assess whatever we change, that new skills are going to be required and that training is going to be needed. And then with formal mechanisms, look at what systems do we need to implement. And I happen to know that in the case of this case study and Vanessa, new systems, a new platform, an online platform was required. That means new processes, which comes back to new skills and training, and of course, an overall change management plan to assist. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Can I add to this? Yes, sorry. We still have time, right, Jean? Do we?
No, you've got 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, then.
And then Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah. Charlotte, are you on? Are you able to give you a 10-point plan, please?
Here we go. I'm on. Okay. Hi, everyone. So from my group, we looked at things which was awesome because a lot of the members of the group applied a lot of these techniques within the entire internal organizations. So the first thing they spoke about was authenticity and transparency. The importance of being clear and transparent with your clients, with your suppliers, with your employees. And it's about just being authentic, just letting them know where you are and where you stand and what's happening currently. The second thing that was quite evident was building relationships. A lot of the members from my group has been doing a lot of work with the suppliers. So for example, sustaining relationship, just calling the clients, just checking in on them, not looking for business, but just checking in if they're doing okay, how their families, how things are going from their side. One of the ladies were actually sending gifts to their clients to actually tell the clients, you know, we understand where you are and we're just sending you a little gift just to make you feel better because we understand their situation and their circumstances. The third thing was building relationships with those clients as well, that came up quite strong. Then number 4 was opportunities, looking at where we are at the moment, looking at building online platforms to saying, how do we redirect? So from a Vanessa perspective, my team was looking at where do we go next? How do we redirect the business? How do we restructure? How do we look at other solutions? How do we go digital? How do we try and reinvent ourselves? How do we be innovative? How to be creative? And that is with the internal team sitting in and looking at ways to be better at doing what they're doing. The next thing we looked at was, okay, so internally looking at solutions, brainstorming sessions with team, looking at the supply chain to see what's available. So yes, we might have this great alternatives, but seeing what's out there that's available to be able to implement these new solutions. And then obviously looking at supplier empathy and engaging with them. And then trigger innovative thinking when including employees in decision making, so that they can also have the buy-in and commitment from a team perspective. And then also being open and honest to employees around cost reduction. Yep, that's about it. Is there anything else, team, that you want to add? No?
Imagine arriving at a gala awards event with breathtaking decor and a stage set bold with promises for a night of thrilling surprise. There's a chic sophistication in the air. A team of professionals meet you at the arrivals desk to welcome you. The doors of the venue swing open and you enter a wonderland. The lighting and the ambient music sets a scene. You are mesmerized and you feel accomplished, proud, and deeply satisfied. You see, this is your evening, this is your event, and you're our client. That's what we do for our clients. We execute our clients' vision for meetings, incentives, conferences, events, and exhibitions that more than exceed every expectation with detailed conceptualizing, planning, and innovation. At least that's all we did until COVID-19 happened. My name is Vanessa Bayers. I'm the founder and managing director of the Source PR and Event Management, a creative and innovative company based in Johannesburg, South Africa. We design, plan, and execute custom events and public relations strategies that greatly benefit our clients, and we've been around for almost 20 years. I'm going to share with you a story of possibility to inspire leadership through resilience, innovation, and collaboration, and I do hope that it will help you to recognize the power of your potential. From the 16th of March 2020, aka when the reality of COVID-19 started to creep in for us, we started to lose our pipeline business until we had lost all of it. Right when I finally felt that the business was starting to flourish, my vision was materializing and we were closer to ever than meeting our goals, COVID-19 knocked the wind out of our sails. So what did we do to build resilience? Firstly, we assessed our situation and evaluated different key factors for our survival simultaneously. We took the stance that it was to be a time for innovation. We didn't have a choice. It had to be a time for evolution and accelerated growth. And this was our outlook. We mobilized the team in a collaborative mode so that every person was given specific tasks from mundane to intensive, tasks that would be beneficial in the long run and also with a sense of accomplishment for our team, and that was our purpose. We made a quick decision to work remotely, decided how to manage and simplify the complexities of IT functionalities, and how we would keep our level of team correspondence structured and continuous. This was our plan of action. We also assessed our financial situation, and by quickly and clearly defining our financial standing and securing backup, we were able to focus rather on solutions than on lack. And this security cleared our path for innovation. Solutions call for innovation, so we determined what we're good at, what we already know, and how we can adapt it. So we started communicating. We started asking our clients what they needed and how we could offer them support. We stepped into the gap to add value and at the same time initiated conversations that would never have been had. Communication is key. It was through an unexpected conversation with a client that a new business idea emerged. It came as a request for an online product launch, which was to be the creation of our new product and service. And so we launched the Source Online virtual event productions. We now provide event solutions for all online event formats, from meetings, incentives, conferences, events and exhibitions, everything that we know, to virtual broadcast productions. we take over all the planning and implementation with the skill set, the expertise and the platforms to deliver the impact of a physical event, however online. This was our innovation, and it was innovated to meet a need in the market. We couldn't have done any of this without collaboration, collaborative support from both industry and our clients. It's a symbiotic relationship. We created our new online service by exploring, learning, and asking the numerous questions until we understood the content. We selected our preferred partners and devised solutions through collaboration, and this was our resourcefulness. Our clients have jumped online with us, broadening our collective horizon with a reach and impact that extends beyond borders. This is just the beginning of our journey to unlimited potential, partnering together on a new adventure. And this is what I call success. So what I'd like to leave you with is that we live in a world of perpetual change and evolution. It's intrinsic to our existence. We need to embrace change, resist stagnation, and continue to explore limitless possibility. Be resilient. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Without discomfort, there can be no growth. I'm Vanessa Bayers, and I'm excited for your inherent potential to achieve the seemingly impossible. Emerge.
So coming up next, we have the groups from Shahima and Khobati, and I'll just read out the case study just to give context to their 10-point plan. So they had Tenny's case study of the CEO of Eclectic Chic. So Tenny is the CEO of the social impact enterprise Eclectic Sheets and accessory brand. This sustainable manufacturing company is located in Lagos, Nigeria. As COVID-19 hit the region and Nigeria entered into a lockdown, Tenny faced a multitude of business concerns. She needed to find ways to continue to pay her employees' salaries, to export her goods with limited air travel, and to ensure revenue flow with the retail sector coming to a near halt. One day, Tenny received a call about a government bid to produce 100,000 masks, but she only had 2 weeks to do it and had to ensure that her employees maintained social distancing procedures. On top of that, she must adhere to the movement restrictions and has to apply for a single government issue free bus pass. I think Shahima, are you ready to take us through your 10-point plan? You're on mute, Shahima, sorry.
After all this time, you think I would learn being on this technology platform. So our group discussed the first thing that we would look at, given the current business and the income potential. So we would look at the current cash flow position, the finances, understand what that current position is, understand how much money is within the business to pay things like salaries and for how long, where money could be saved, costs could be cut, suppliers could be renegotiated, etc. And then we would have an open conversation with the staff to keep them abreast of all developments of what's happening and to bring them along on the journey. We'd also understand with the new opportunity of 100,000 masks, what the current skill capacities of the staff, what the technology capabilities. So do we need suddenly new machines and raw material or just the raw material? We'd also then understand, so one of the suggestions was to get around the COVID travel restrictions. We would look at transporting the machinery to the staff and have them then produce the masks at their home and have a production incentive. In that way, we could look at making the 2 weeks turnaround time, and then that would, get away from the whole social distancing. And the other option would be to maybe have staff work in shifts, but that could impact the production of the 2 week turnaround time. We also looked at, so if money was really a problem and but we needed this material, we could look at a JV venture with another outsourced production house. In that way, we could make some money out of it, but then take the learning from the skill. Also ask the government to negotiate upfront payments in terms of that. And then the third option would obviously be to borrow. But we'd also look at the debtors book in terms of what money can we possibly get in, because borrowing funds would be a last thing. And then we would look at moving things around and an existing product. We would look at the, which couriers can operate so that we can get the product delivered. In terms of our overseas, or let's say our clients with limited air travel, where we have the product, we would have a clear and open communication plan with these clients to really keep them abreast what is happening and to manage the expectations. So to protect the brand and the reputation that we've built up with these existing clients over time. And then in terms of this new mask presents a new product line, which also represents a new revenue increase. So we would start marketing it to our existing clients in terms of, this is this new mask. It is an accessory business, so we see it as a complementary business. In that way, we could then, also increase the revenue stream because it's an additional product that we can sell. And we would look at revise our metrics and our success plan just for the business post-COVID.
Thanks, Shahima. 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Kobati?
All right. Yeah. Next, we have Kobati, please.
Yes. So here's our 10-point plan. The first that we said we would do is that given that it's COVID and everybody is so down and there's no business, the first thing that we would do is to call up the team and share the excitement with the team and other business partners. And once we've done that, we would then, together with the team, determine our big why for going to do this business so that there's enough motivation and buy-in from staff. Also because given it's 100,000 masks, they would have to work overtime and etc. So determine some kind of a reward system that would incentivize the team. The third would be to check our capacity to deliver this. How's our machinery like? Would we be able to do this? How would we source our raw material? And then based on that, determine who to partner with. We felt given the environment of where we are in Lagos, we would most probably partner with community tailors, all the other people who are out there who have machinery to be able to deliver this. We'll partner with them. And then get into some big serious planning around how are we gonna, obviously have no particular order, probably the planning before, and then monitor, be able to plan and determine our financial resources to be able to pull this off, obviously now with all the partners and all the delivery partners, and then set up a way to monitor the quality of the production that we would produce to make sure that it's all the same. And then 7 would be a risk management and emergency protocol, given the time that we are in, to make sure that everybody we're working with is safe and there's emergency in. And then 8th would be to have a system of regular check-in, given that the production would be spread through a wide area. We would have regular check-in with staff to keep them motivated, connected, and acknowledge them so that they are able to work through long time to deliver the 100,000. And then we would, number 9 is to set up a delivery mechanism for our product. We think we would go with the local borders or who are already there. We can create employment and also set up a central delivery system point for our client to pick the product up. And then the last is we would actually have a way of taking care of our customer and making sure that they're happy, and that way market our product to broader than just this one client. That's our 10-point plan. I think I see Barbara smiling, so it looks like I represented as well.
That was 3 minutes and 1 second.
So it was 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. As did all the other presenters.
I'm Tony Majikudumi. In 2012, after a family tragedy, I looked within and founded my African-inspired accessories brand, Eclectic Chic, a sustainable and social impact enterprise that employs over 50 women and youth artisans in Nigeria to create unique, high-quality and well-finished lifestyle products, which we currently export to 9 countries. As COVID numbers began to rise and the world began to systematically shut down, it was clear the concerns I had pre-COVID about running a business as an entrepreneur and the challenges one has to face were now significantly heightened. How are we going to pay salaries? One of our workers just had a baby. Another one is on dialysis. Exporting all of our products was going to be a problem. Air travel was going to stop. Trying to even get raw materials locally was going to be a challenge, because the markets were going to be closed with the upcoming lockdown. Retail customers who loved impulse buys and nice to haves would be a thing of the past because their mindsets had changed. I began to ask myself the question every business was asking: how would we survive? And in this new world, what is our contribution? Should we not only be nice to have, but also a need to have? Global research provided evidence that wearing a mask in conjunction with social distancing and frequent washing of our hands was a key factor to flattening the curve. Masks became a need to have. If Eclectic Chic make masks, could we become need to have? Lo and behold, a call came informing us about a government bid to produce 100,000 masks for the state government. The added advantage was over all the other bidders that we had was the fact that we were an all-women manufacturing consortium, and that became our winning edge. Mandate was, in 2 weeks, we had to produce 100,000 masks to our state government. Spoiler alert, we did it, and we rallied. It took a lot of mental gymnastics to organize the complicated logistics in lockdown, virtually and safely, but in the end, we delivered the 100 masks on time. On top of that, these were a consortium of fashion brands now producing non-medical masks on an epic scale and on a super tight deadline, all the while operating under lockdown protocols. At the moment we got the call, in my private thoughts, I began thinking, this job could potentially solve all my earlier concerns. Salaries would be paid, cash flow maintained, and the most important thing, I'll be able to help my community in a time like this, because we all know Nigeria being an emerging economy, social distancing is really a luxury. So any little way I could help was key. In spite of these advantages the job would bring, I still had my reservations. Would the artisans be safe? Would the varying businesses be able to work cohesively under such time constraints? Would it all just be a logistical nightmare and a pivot in the wrong direction? I was inspired by my supervisor, who demonstrated great confidence in our abilities to fulfill the task at hand. So I made the decision to forge ahead. How did I do it? I discovered the power of collaboration among the consortium and our staff. We devised a strategy between us to pick up raw materials from various locations, sharing among the 6 companies with only one government-issued free movement bus pass. We succeeded in accommodating our artisans, keeping them safe and socially distanced, whilst providing catering, creating beds made from foam mattresses. That was one story, very interesting one. It took us a long time, but we got it in the end, and still successfully producing 100,000 quality masks. Not only did it give our artisans much needed confidence, it added value to our manufacturing processes and quality control, and also learning from each other in the consortium. These new skills successfully acquired enabled us contribute to the growth of each of our own respective businesses. On a closing note, the cherry on the cake was this: a letter of appreciation from the Executive Governor of Lagos State. To sum up, we pivoted from producing nice-to-have products to need-to-have products, leveraging the power of collaboration. Might you find ways to do that in your own business? That is the lockdown story, the lockdown lowdown from Eclectic Chic. Follow us on IG and Twitter on here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. That was really great. I think we've got so much information. It would be great to have a discussion around this, but time just doesn't allow it. I wanted to give the opportunity for Barbara, Sylvia, and Smita, if you just wanted to say a few words. You were in the sessions. If you want to say just a few words about what you saw happening in the rooms, and we use it as part of your wrap-up. After we've done that, I'll ask Patricia and Yeshua to say if they have a few words. And then we have the 3 videos. The 3 ladies have got videos that tell us exactly how their pivot happens. But I'm very conscious of time. So if I can go to Barbara, Smita, and Sylvia for very quick comments, please.
From my side, I think the session that I was in was really great. I think everybody came up with very good ideas. I think it was very good to see sort of the practicality that people brought in, how some of the things that we talked about during the session as well today was pulled in there. So well done. I thought it was really great discussion. And thank you, Khobati. I thought you facilitated it very well. Thank you.
Awesome.
Just from my side, I was in, sorry, Sylvia. I was in the group that actually thought about the agility, the agile mindset, and how to evolve your business to accommodate the changing environments. I think that was really good to see how it will work in a different industry, different environment. So I really enjoyed that from my group. Sylvia.
All right, thank you very much. I think there was a lot of learning even from my side, and I think it was really interesting watching the dynamics of the group. I think the best part about it is that you're all business people and you are able to apply yourselves to Zanela's situation, into Jazz's situation. So thank you very much. My encouragement is never forget that we are all part of an orchestra. If we all walk away being the best instrument that we can be, then the musical piece will be great because you did the best you could for the entire group. So really encouraged, and it's great to see a congregation of great women doing such great things together to sharpen one another. So thanks a lot for the invitation.
Thank you, ladies. I know Daniela was on the call. Was she in one of the breakaway rooms too?
I was.
Go ahead.
Yes, and it was really interesting. I think it's, as I said, it's amazing to see the work that it's been doing about with the clients. So I was really impressed with the actions that they have been taking to keep a close relationship to their clients. So congratulations, and really excited to that we are partnering again. And yes, hopefully it was insightful for you as well.
Fantastic. Patricia. So Patricia is the Regional Director for Africa and Middle East for We Connect International, based out of Washington. Go ahead, Patricia, your comments.
I am so impressed by how everyone applied the frameworks that AstraZeneca presented around mindsets, around the influence model, around the circle of control, the African mindset, and the importance of having a change management plan. It was really well done. I have just sent you all links to videos about the women and the companies that was the subject of the 3 case studies, Tenny, Vanessa, and Jazz. So if you have a chance to delve into that more, it's fantastic. So thanks again for organizing this.
Great, thanks. We were hoping to show the videos as well for those who can stay on. If not, we'll also include them in the mailing. Yeshua. So Yeshua Russell is the country director for We Connect International in Nigeria. Yeshua, your points?
Yeah, thank you very much, Cousin Jean. And and it was a fantastic experience. I think I really appreciate everyone for being here today. what I'm taking out of this session is you have to keep your eyes open in this COVID-19 period. You need to keep your eyes open. You need to be flexible in order not to ignore opportunities that you would normally pass by. This is a period where you need to pivot. And I think what I've taken from the sessions with AstraZeneca, the sessions with the women, is we all have to build our capacity to change the code of our businesses to be able to respond to new opportunities, and in some cases, create new opportunities. Thank you very much, Jean.
Thank you, Yeshua. That's amazing. For me as well, one of the big takeaways, African, women can, and entrepreneurs can.